These recipes are perfect for Christmas morning. Because maybe you want something quick, maybe you want something easy, or maybe you just want some new ideas. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 delicious Christmas breakfast casseroles that I'm pretty sure you're gonna love. Okay y'all, let's get started. This overnight sausage pancake breakfast casserole is one we'll get started on the night before. I've got 1 pound of original sausage here. The recipe called for maple. I'm just using what I have on hand though. So I'll add in a little extra maple syrup in a little bit here. I'm just breaking that up and letting it cook until it's cooked through. I'm removing it from the heat, draining the grease, and setting it to the side for just a minute. Over on the counter, in a large bowl, I added in 6 eggs. You can whisk these, or you can do like me and just use your hand mixer. Y'all don't laugh at me, I'm trying to take the easy route. After I got that all mixed together, I added in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. The recipe called for granulated, but I figured that brown sugar would add a little extra flavor. I also added a teaspoon of vanilla, 1½ cups of heavy cream, and 1 cup of milk. Now you're going to mix that, or whisk it, until it's well combined. Now I'm going to set this aside over with the sausage, and we're almost ready to put it all together. You're going to need a 33-ounce package of frozen pancakes. I did let them thaw out because I'm going to cut them in half. These were so neat. They come in little packages of 3. That way you can just grab out 1 serving. I guess you can tell I don't buy frozen pancakes. And if you want to make homemade, that'll be just fine. You'll need 24. Now I'm taking each pancake and cutting it in half just like this. I'm using a 9x13 for this. Now we're going to add in those pancakes. Since I cut them in half, I did 2 rows horizontally. I did glance back at the recipe after I had already started this, and she did 3 shorter rows in the opposite direction. But any way you want to get them in here, that'll be fine. Now I did learn something here though. As I was putting them in, I was kind of trying to lay them to the side, but that's where I kind of messed up. So if you do this, make sure you stand them up straight. And this is where I failed to read the directions clearly. I totally skipped the words in between. All I read was sprinkle the sausage on top of the pancake slices. And while it was in the oven, I was rereading the recipe and I read sprinkle cooked sausage on top and in between the pancake slices. So maybe that'll help you do it right the first time. Now we're going to drizzle over 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. But since I didn't use maple sausage, I'm going to do a little bit extra. Now I'm taking that milk and egg mixture and I'm going to drizzle it evenly over the top of those pancakes and sausage. By the way, if you're enjoying this easy recipe, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really does help me out. And it also lets me know that you want to see more videos like this. And since this is an overnight casserole and we're making it the night before, I'm covering it with some plastic wrap and putting it in the refrigerator until in the morning. That way it has time to soak up some of that custard. It is now the next day. I'm removing that plastic wrap, and I know now that I was supposed to kind of let the sausage fall down in between the pancakes. So this was my attempt to try to fix it. And in the process, I just felt like I was going to make a bigger mess. The pancakes were really fragile, and to me, I was scared they were going to start falling apart, so I just decided to stop. Now this casserole goes into a preheated 350-degree oven for 50 to 60 minutes. And 20 minutes later, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was not going to stop until I tried to fix it. And after the 20 minutes, the pancakes were much easier to separate. So I just used a knife to lift each pancake up and let that sausage fall in between. This has got to go back into the oven to finish baking, so I did think the sausage was starting to get a little brown, so I did cover it with foil. and it's going back into the oven for about 30 more minutes. All I gotta say is wow, this was out of this world good. I mean, who would have thought to make a breakfast casserole with frozen pancakes and sausage? When I was trying to get this out, I just knew it was gonna fall apart, but it didn't. It held together really well. And I gotta say, this is just about the prettiest little breakfast casserole I have ever seen. And it's gonna be perfect for Christmas morning. And of course you can't have pancakes without drizzling them with some maple syrup. Or even pancake syrup, that'll be fine too. This was absolutely delicious, and I'm sure you can even tell just by the way it looks. And I love that you can make it ahead of time the night before, especially if you're going to be super busy on Christmas morning. You're not going to want to be stuck in the kitchen for an hour. This was so easy to put together, and also, I bet this would actually be really fun for the kids to help out with. My whole family loved it, and I will definitely be making it again. This chicken mini breakfast casserole was another really good one. To begin, I'm going to get started on the crescent rolls. You're going to need 1.5 of the 8-count tubes of refrigerated crescent rolls. This is one tube here, and this is the other. Lacey loves crescent rolls, so I'm just going to bake up the other half of this other tube separately. Or you can just put it in a little Ziploc bag till you're ready to use them. So you're going to need a total of 12 crescent rolls here. You're just going to unroll these, and I'm using my pizza cutter, and I'm cutting each triangle into 3 small strips. 3 narrow strips. We're going to need 36 pieces of frozen popcorn chicken, and I'm using a 25-ounce bag. I'm taking a piece of that popcorn chicken and I'm rolling it in a strip of crescent dough. Isn't that cute? I can't wait for you to see how this turned out. I'm grabbing a 9x13 baking dish, and you do want to make sure you spray it with non-stick spray, especially since we're using those crescent rolls. And as you get these rolled up, you're just going to place them into that baking dish. This is another one that you can get the kids to help with. So much fun. And after you get them all in there, we're going to make up a little egg mixture. In a medium-sized bowl, I'm adding 1.5 cups of milk, 5 eggs, and a little salt and pepper. Then you're just going to whisk this until it's well combined. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'll be pouring it into the casserole dish in just a minute here. But first, we're going to top those chicken minis with some shredded cheddar cheese. I did about 2 cups. And if you're not a really big fan of cheese, I'm sure you can reduce it, or you can even leave it out altogether. I'm sure it'll still be delicious. And the recipe does say that you can omit it. Now I'm drizzling that egg mixture evenly over the top. This casserole goes into a preheated 375-degree oven for 30 to 40 minutes. And I'll let that top get a little golden brown. And as soon as this comes out of the oven, you can drizzle it with honey or even a little maple syrup. This was so good, and that honey just took it to a whole nother level. This one is also great if you're not a fan of sausage or bacon. Oh, and also I know kids can sometimes be a little picky, but most kids do love chicken. Either way, I think your family will love this. I seen this bacon, egg, and cheese pancake casserole on TikTok, and I knew I had to try it. The recipe called for Hungry Jack pancake mix, but y'all know me. I'm using the Great Value brand any chance I get, and that was 1.5 cups of pancake mix. I also added 4 eggs and 2 cups of milk, and I just used 2%. And I'm using my mixer here, and I'm going to mix it until it's well combined. Now I'm adding a little over a cupful of shredded cheddar cheese, along with 1 pound of cooked and crumbled bacon. I had to hide this, y'all. Bacon don't last no time in my house. I also added 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now you're going to give this another really good mix. Now all that's left to do is to pour it in the casserole dish. I'm using a 9x13, and you do want to make sure you spray it with some nonstick spray. We do not want it sticking to the bottom there. And you're just going to pour that batter right on in. By the way, in case you're new here, I post easy recipes all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you get notified of all my future videos. I baked this casserole at 350 for 30 to 35 minutes. Of course I had to top this with some syrup. And this is just like the name says. It's a bacon, egg, and cheese filled pancake. And it really can't get any better than that. Are y'all excited about Christmas? 'Cause I am. I cannot wait to decorate cookies with the kids. Do y'all have a fun tradition that you do every year and that you really look forward to? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. This casserole was delicious, and it's definitely one I'm going to make again. It's a good one to make on the weekends too. This sausage and cream cheese grits casserole was amazing. I'm starting out in a large skillet, and you'll need a very large skillet. I've got 1.5 pounds of sausage here, and you're just going to cook this until it's cooked through. And I'm just using a paper towel to get rid of most of that grease. Now I'm adding in 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. I'm just kind of breaking that up and stirring it together until it's as mixed together as I can get it. The recipe said to break it into crumbles, but it don't look like crumbles to me. It looks like a sausage and cream cheese mixture. Oh well, hopefully I did it right. Now you're going to remove it to a separate plate and set it aside. I'm just using that same skillet, and I kind of wiped it out with a paper towel. Now I'm adding in 6 cups of chicken broth. And yes, I was a little skeptical about this, but trust me, it turned out amazing. Now you're going to bring this to a boil. Then you're going to add in 2 cups of quick cooking grits. And the recipe said to slowly stir these in, but as you can tell, I did not do that slowly. You're going to give these a really good stir. I did turn my heat down to medium-low. These cook pretty fast. They'll be done in about 5 minutes. I did cover them and let them continue to cook until they had thickened. Make sure you stir them occasionally though. When they're done, you're going to give them a really good stir and remove them from the heat. I just slid mine over to the other side of the stovetop there. Next, I'm adding in 1 stick of softened butter, along with 12 ounces of cubed Velveeta cheese. And y'all know if it's got Velveeta cheese in it, it's gonna be good. You're gonna stir this until that butter and cheese is most of the way melted. Now you're gonna add in a 1/2 cup of milk. And I added mine a little at a time, just because it's easier to stir that way. After you get that all mixed together, you're going to add in 4 large beaten eggs. And also 1/2 of that sausage and cream cheese mixture. We're going to save the other 1/2 to top the casserole. Now stir that around and get it all mixed together. This is all mixed together and we can take it over to the counter. I'm using a 9x13 baking dish, but you can also use a pan. I'm spraying it with some nonstick spray. Now we're going to carefully pour in that cheesy sausage and grits mixture. All this pan was heavy and hot, so make sure you be careful when you're doing this. Now I'm taking that leftover 1/2 of that sausage and cream cheese mixture, and I'm kind of trying to break it up and spread it out evenly over the top. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine was not perfect here. We're topping this casserole off with 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you do not want to skip the cheese here. It is delicious. My granddaddy always made me and my sister cheese grits growing up, so this casserole really brings back memories. They were nothing special, it was just the cheese grits out of the little package, but it was special to us. Now this goes into the oven to bake at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes. I'm baking this uncovered. This casserole was so delicious, and grits and sausage is always a good combination. And also, this recipe does say that you can make it the night before, which makes it even better. I loved the sausage in this, and it had just the right amount of cheese. This is also a very big casserole. It makes a whole lot of food. So if you're having family over for the holidays, this would be perfect. I really hope you give it a try. I think you'll love it. I can't believe I've waited this long to make a French toast casserole. Starting out in a large bowl, added in 8 eggs. I also added 3/4 cup of sugar. I gave this a quick little whisk until it was well combined. I just figured it would be easier to mix the sugar and eggs together first before I added all that milk, just so I wouldn't make a huge mess. Now I'm adding in 2 cups of milk, and I just used 2%, half a cup of heavy cream, also about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now you're going to whisk all this together until it's well combined. I'm setting this aside for just a minute. Add a 9x13 baking dish that I sprayed with nonstick spray. We're going to go ahead and add the bread down first. I used 1 loaf of French bread, but you could also use sourdough or even brioche. I know brioche would be really good. Cut it up into 1-inch cubes. I think I forgot to mention, this will need to sit in the refrigerator for at least 4 hours, so it's perfect to make the night before. This was not in the recipe, but I thought some blueberries would be good in this, so I just sprinkled in about half of this bag of frozen blueberries. You could also do raspberries or the mixed fruit, just whatever you prefer. Top of all that, I'm pouring that egg and milk mixture. I tried to drizzle it slowly just to make sure I covered everything. Now I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to make up a quick topping to go on top. You're going to need a medium-sized bowl. I'm adding in 1 stick of cold butter that I cut into cubes. Also added half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I guess you can clearly tell I added way more than a teaspoon, but I love cinnamon. I also added 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And the recipe said to cut the butter and sugar together, so I thought this was the perfect time for me to use my pastry cutter that I never use. See, I knew there was a reason that I kept it. Y'all, I do not know how to use a pastry cutter. I guess I need a little more practice. And since this is a make-ahead casserole, I'm not going to put the topping on just yet. You can store it in a Ziploc bag, or I'm just storing mine in a food storage container. That way it'll be right here with the casserole when I'm ready for it in the morning. Now I'm just putting the lid on, and I'm going to set it on top of the casserole, and then all this is going in the refrigerator. You'll want to chill it for at least 4 hours, or even better, overnight. That just gives it time to soak up some of that custard. It is the next morning now, and I'm ready to put it all together. But before I add on the topping, I decided to kind of toss all that bread around together just to mix everything up a little bit. You'll want to do this gently, but I just wanted to make sure everything was covered in the egg mixture. And here's that topping. And it does pretty much solidify in the refrigerator, so you'll just want to kind of break that up and sprinkle it evenly over the top. This goes into the oven to bake at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes. Okay, and I gotta tell y'all what I did. So I went to check on it, and it had puffed up so much. It looked like it was gonna overflow, and it didn't look like it was completely done. So I put a pan on the bottom there just in case it spilled over. And of course, you know me. I had turned the oven off and I left it in the oven just so it could continue to cook for about 5 more minutes, and I forgot about it. Y'all, I was so disappointed. It was so pretty and so fluffy when I checked on it, and when I remembered that it was still in the oven, even though the heat was off, it was in there for probably 20 more minutes, so it got a little too done, but it was still absolutely delicious. So as long as you don't overcook it, which I'm pretty good at that, you'll be fine. It was so good though. This sausage and hash brown breakfast casserole turned out to be one of our favorites. In a large skillet, you're going to add in 1 pound of sausage. I just broke that up and let it cook until it's cooked through. When it's done, you can remove it from the heat, drain the grease, and set it aside. Over at the counter, in a large bowl, I'm adding in 8 eggs. And for the seasonings, I did salt and pepper to taste, and 1/4 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, and dry mustard. And if you don't have the dry mustard powder, you can always add in just a squirt of prepared mustard. Now I'm adding 1/4 cup of sour cream and 1 cup of milk. Now you're going to whisk this until it's well combined. I'm going to set this aside. We'll use it in just a minute. I'm making this in a 9x13. You're going to need 8 frozen hash brown patties. I'm just using these from Walmart. There's 10 in here, so I'll just have a couple left over. And you're just going to lay them down flat in a single layer across the bottom of that dish. Now, over the top of those hash brown patties, you're going to add on that sausage. Just spread it out and try to evenly cover those hash brown patties. And next, we're going to add on 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And then on top of that, you're going to pour over that milk and egg mixture. And I just try to drizzle it in evenly. Now you're going to cover this tightly with foil, and it bakes at 350, covered for 30 minutes. Then you're going to remove the foil and bake it for an additional 30 minutes. Or just until those eggs are set. This was so good, and it was my first time trying it with the hash brown patties, and I loved it. And y'all know me, I have to top everything with something. And maple syrup just didn't sound good on this. So I made up some sausage gravy to pour on top. And that ended up making this even better. This also makes a pretty good bit, so that really comes in handy when you're trying to feed a crowd. This turned out really good, and I'll definitely be making it again. And make sure you don't skip the sausage gravy. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and I will see you in the next one. Say Merry Christmas, everybody. Say Merry Christmas, everybody. You gonna wave to them? You gonna clap your hands? Say clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap.
Clap, clap, clap. Merry Christmas.
Say Merry Christmas, everybody.
Clap,
You see
clap,
Lainey?
clap.
You see Lainey? Is that Lainey?